At a time when many nations are reinforcing their borders and tightening immigration policies, one region within the United Kingdom is taking a strikingly different approach. While the UK government moves toward more restrictive immigration laws, Scotland is extending an open invitation, actively encouraging people to come, live, and work within its borders. But this is not just a call for minor reforms. Scotland is proposing a sweeping transformation of how migration is handled, including the creation of a distinct Scottish visa system. This growing policy divide between Scotland and Westminster raises vital questions. Why is Scotland choosing this path, and what are the implications for migrants, students, families, and the future of immigration in the UK? The answer begins with Scotland's unique demographic challenge. Unlike other parts of the UK, Scotland faces the real possibility of population decline. According to forecasts, all of Scotland's population growth over the next 25 years is expected to come from migration alone. With a low birth rate and an aging population, the number of people in the workforce is shrinking. This has serious consequences not just for economic growth, but also for funding public services like the NHS. The Scottish government argues that the current UK-wide immigration policy, controlled centrally by Westminster, does not take these regional needs into account, where still, they claim it is making the situation more difficult. From Scotland's perspective, framing migration as something to reduce rather than manage strategically is a mistake. They believe immigration should be approached as a tool to strengthen communities, support industries, and sustain essential services. To address this, Scotland has put forward a bold set of proposals outlined in policy documents like Building a New Scotland. Central to these proposals is the idea of a Scottish visa designed specifically for people who wish to settle in Scotland. This visa would not replace the UK system, but instead operate alongside it as a tailored route aimed at addressing Scotland's specific demographic and economic needs. One key innovation is that the proposed visa could be unsponsored, meaning applicants wouldn't need to secure a job offer before arriving. Instead, eligibility might be assessed based on factors such as age, qualifications, skills, and future earning potential. In contrast to the UK's high salary thresholds, Scotland is pushing for more flexible entry requirements that better reflect the realities of its job market. Another major component of the Scottish plan is to offer a clear and attainable route to permanent settlement. Those arriving on a Scottish visa would be given the opportunity to apply for indefinite leave to remain, encouraging long-term integration and community development. The goal, according to the Scottish government, is to create policies that make people feel welcome and invested in staying, not policies that push them away. Financial barriers to migration are also a key target for reform. Scottish ministers argue that the current system places too much emphasis on a migrant's ability to pay rather than their skills and potential contributions. They are calling for a significant reduction in visa fees and associated costs, which can deter workers and students from choosing Scotland as their destination. One of their most impactful proposals is to abolish the Immigration Health Surcharge (IHS) for migrants in Scotland. Currently, most visa applicants must pay over £1,000 per year to access the NHS, even though they also contribute to the health system through taxes and national insurance. Critics argue this is a form of double charging, and removing the IHS could make Scotland a more attractive and equitable place to live and work. The proposals also address the needs of specific sectors, especially health and social care, which have been hit hard by recent policy changes. In early 2024, the UK government banned care workers from bringing dependents, such as spouses and children, when moving to the UK. This change has led to a sharp drop in care sector visa applications. Scotland is pushing back, urging the restoration of dependent rights for care workers within its jurisdiction. The rationale is simple: people are far more likely to relocate and commit to long-term roles if they can bring their families with them. However, this also presents complex questions. If Scotland allows dependents while England does not, Could this create a disparity in internal migration and recruitment patterns? Ultimately, Scotland is positioning itself as a nation with a different vision for immigration, one that sees newcomers not as a burden, but as a vital part of its future. With policies focused on fairness, economic necessity, and long-term integration, the country is striving to build a system that aligns with its own values and demographic needs. Whether these plans come to fruition will depend on negotiations with Westminster, but for now, Scotland is making its stance clear. It wants to be a country that opens doors, not closes them. The question many are now asking is whether Scotland's more welcoming stance could lead to an internal surge of migrants from other parts of the UK. If policies differ so significantly between nations within the Union, how would Scotland manage and enforce geographically specific immigration rules? These practical challenges must be addressed if Scotland's proposals are to become reality. Another key area of focus is international students and recent graduates. The UK government has introduced rules that limit most international students from bringing family members, a policy the Scottish government has previously questioned, especially for those enrolled at institutions in Scotland. Beyond family rights, however, Scotland is also concerned with retaining global talent trained at its world-class universities. To that end, it is proposing the creation of a Scottish graduate visa. This would not replace the existing UK-wide two-year post-study graduate route, but instead act as an extension for those who have studied in Scotland. Under the plan, international graduates would be offered an additional two-year visa, specifically linked to Scotland. The reasoning is straightforward, with the UK skilled worker visa threshold now set at £38,700. Many recent graduates, especially those entering fields outside of high-paying sectors, find it nearly impossible to qualify within the short two-year window. Offering a further 2 years would give them the time and opportunity to build careers, gain experience, and meet the income criteria, all while contributing to Scotland's economy. This isn't an entirely new concept. Between 2005 and 2008, a similar initiative known as the Fresh Talent Working in Scotland scheme provided international graduates with additional time to remain and work after their studies. The success of that program serves as a precedent and supports calls for its revival in a modern context. Beyond student retention, Scotland's proposals extend into rural revitalization. To combat depopulation in remote regions, the government is considering a rural visa pilot. This would allow businesses in designated rural communities to sponsor migrant workers under less stringent requirements, such as lower salary thresholds, with the condition that visa holders remain in the area for a fixed period before becoming eligible for permanent residency. The aim is to sustain local economies and address labor shortages in areas that are often overlooked by national policies. Additional measures include calls for exemptions to the national salary requirements for skilled worker visas, particularly to support employers who can't match the high wages commonly offered in London. The Scottish government is also advocating for universities to be reinstated as endorsing bodies for the Innovator Founder Visa. This move would support startups and innovation by giving graduates and entrepreneurs a clearer route to establish businesses in Scotland. Supporting all of these proposals is a demand for better access to migration data. The Scottish government has called on the UK Home Office to improve data sharing, enabling a more accurate understanding of migration flows and allowing policies to be better tailored to Scotland's specific needs. But despite the ambition behind these plans, there remains one significant obstacle: immigration is not a devolved matter. Power over who enters and remains in the UK lies solely with the Westminster government. Any changes to the current system, including the introduction of a Scottish visa or regional exemptions, would require full cooperation from London. Historically, that support has been lacking. The UK government has repeatedly emphasized the importance of a unified immigration system, resisting any moves toward regional differentiation. Still, this growing divide between Holyrood and Westminster signals more than just a policy disagreement. It reflects a deeper tension within the UK's constitutional framework. On one side is a central government intent on reducing net migration. On the other is a devolved government facing demographic decline and economic pressures that demand a more flexible, localized approach. Scotland's message is clear. It needs more people, not fewer. Through a more open and adaptive immigration strategy, it hopes to attract the talent and workers necessary to secure its future. Whether these proposals are adopted, amended, or ultimately rejected, they have undeniably reshaped the national conversation around immigration. What comes next will test the relationship between Scotland and the rest of the UK, could determine the future for countless individuals hoping to make Scotland their new home.